Cool. It is so good to be here. This is the best. So I have a two-stage presentation for you. I'm going to talk a little bit about something that's cool, and then I'm going to take you behind the curtain. So this is something cool. This is something this is the thing I'm excited about these days, and it's photogrammetry, which is you take a lot of pictures of something, and then you upload it to the cloud, and it turns into a 3D model, and you can just make a copy. And I had originally planned to go to the Met and steal everything. And then I talked to them, and it turned out we had the same values of, I was like, I want to make everybody be able to print anything here. And they were like, well, actually, we do too. We want to be able to get as many eyes on the artwork as possible. That's our goal. So we actually did a collaboration, which I would have never have thought. Like, I was like ready to steal it all. And they were like, no, come on in. Like, we've got soda. And so this is in the background. You can see Michael Curry with a camera. He's capturing an urn. And this is a sculpture that artist in the group liked. And this is sped up a little bit. And basically, it builds it up layer by layer by layer. So if you haven't seen a MakerBot, you can come down and see it in real time downstairs if you want. So then, there it is. And so then John is, one of the cool things you can do with 3D models these days, you can mash them up. So you can take, you can take a rabbit and a dragon, and you can have your own drabbit or dragon. And so John put this really unhappy person on the head with Lita and the swan, on the head of a swan. So you've got this like interesting thing going on of like somebody really angry and somebody looking very lovingly into their eyes. Anyhow, I thought that to me, that's something cool that's going on right now in the community of 3D modeling and 3D making, so I thought you should see something cool. So one of the things that I love about why we're here is there's so, raise your hand if you like do stuff. Hells yeah. So a lot of us in the room, I'm sure, have taken a project and turned it into a business, or maybe resisted turning it into a business. And with MakerBot, we started out with a project. We actually worked on the RepRap project first, and when we couldn't, which is an awesome project to make self-replicating rapid prototypers. Only trick with that is you need to have one to have one. So, so we started MakerBot so that people could have a platform for having a 3D printer in the home. So what's cool is that, so we did that, and we started that. But what we've got in the room here that's really interesting resources, we've got all sorts of people who are living on the edge of what's possible, and then are finding ways to make that what they do. And so, and we're sharing, which just makes it all like glow with lots of LEDs. So I'm going to talk a little bit about where we're at right now and what I stay up late and stressing out about and thinking at night, because I think that might be interesting. For some of you, you may have businesses bigger than ours and you've already solved these problems. For other of you, and you'll just be able to laugh maniacally at me. And then for others of you, you may have a 2 or 3 person business and you're growing it, and I can give you a glimpse into what will keep you up late at night. So things are moving along. And we basically are doing this because we love it. I think that's another theme of this conference is like, figure it out because you're going to be stuck doing it for a while. And find out a way to do it so that so it's sustainable. So I could do a whole presentation on just this slide, but I'm just going to move ahead. So one of the things that we learned that I've just figured out, so when we got to about 60 people, we'd been doing everything on a shoestring. So I was hiring people who didn't need a lot of money, had a lot of enthusiasm, but no experience. And that works up to a point, and it's actually a wild ride because you can just you can live on making mistakes. You can be like, yeah, we're going to hit ourselves. We're going to hit every single wall until we find the door. And then at some point you realize, and this is another thing that just keeps coming up, is okay, let's get in it. Let's get engineers. Let's get an accountant. Let's get a lawyer on retainer, and figure some stuff out. And that kind of is, you don't have to do that, but it's actually it takes some of it off your plate. Another theme that's come up that it's just so interesting, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to talk about that later. I'm going to talk about that later, is cloning. So we've been in Attack of the Clones this summer, and so it's kind of our own fault because we created this really cool technology and then we share it all and licensed under a license that allows anybody to do anything they want with it. And then, of course, now we've got folks we had a couple folks this last summer who, we've got one company in China called MBot, and they're basically taking MakerBot and making them over there and selling them for cheaper. And then we had somebody else in the States do a Kickstarter that didn't work out, but he was going to he literally took a MakerBot and said, I'm going to make these in China and it's going to be cheaper, buy them from me instead. It was kind of nice to have that not work out. But it makes it tricky because we actually spend a lot of time developing it, and we do it because we love it, and we share because we want more innovation in the world, and we want things to be improved. And then people are like, yeah, I'll just Control-C, Control-V that. And we're like, wait, we just spent a bunch of money developing that. So we're thinking like, okay, how do we do this in a way that makes it so that if people copy us, that we can encourage innovation, besides just saying, innovate, darn it. So that's one of the things that I have to think about, is how to deal with clones and how to keep innovating while still sharing. So that's something I'm thinking about. We also have to deal with the patent system. It was interesting this morning, if you were listening to the Glyph guys, they're like, they were in a position where there are two guys, and they basically said, we're not worried about this because we don't have the resources to worry about this, which is actually great. We're getting to the point now where we started up, and now we're competing with companies that make 3D printers. And our printers are basically as good as a machine that's $200,000 to $300,000 for $1,750 or $2,000, depending if you get the single or dual extruder model. So we've got an actual really competitive product in the professional space. But they're also, and the only way we've been able to do that is by navigating around a couple thousand patents in the space, which turns out to be really tricky. There's a number of really cool things that a MakerBot could do if there wasn't already a patent that would expire in like 7.5 years. So what's interesting is that the competitive is in a Cold War state where they've built up these arsenals of patents as nuclear weapons. And I don't know what country we would be, but we're the ones that's like, hey, we'd like to play too, but we don't really like nuclear weapons. So we have to kind of figure out how to deal with this space, because even, I had kind of assumed when we started that the patent system would have failed by the time we got big enough that it mattered. And it hasn't done that yet. So we have to figure out how we're going to fit in that space and still share. The other awesome theme of this conference is working with communities, finding your community, supporting your community, shining a spotlight on your community, giving your community money. Like, it's really, we didn't even plan it this way. It just worked out that we have an awesome community, and it was just obvious that we would just support them as best we could. So we created a community called Thingiverse, where you can upload digital designs. And now, I looked this morning, I used to say, oh yeah, there's like more than 20,000 things. And like, today there's more than 30,000 things. So it's kind of like, go community, like it's so cool. You can make everything from like laptop stands to like certain molecules that are used in testing. You can make models of them and see if they fit together to make interesting new chemicals. So, and like, I love that our biggest customer is NASA. That just is, oh, so cool. So, I'm just kind of telling you what I stay up late night thinking about, so that it maybe gives them some insight into where you might be if your company grows to be about 150 people and 52,000 square feet of manufacturing space in Brooklyn, or Portland. Man, you have a freaking great town here. So awesome. And we're going to keep sharing what we do and how it's going. So that's going to be interesting. And if you are in a similar situation, or you've already had these problems and you've solved them, or if you're thinking about them, I would just love to talk with you about it. And part of the other theme that I think we have here is, because we're all living on the cutting edge of what's happening next, or next, or next, and we all seem to not be starving, what we can do like here is share and support each other. And it's just so cool to be in a room with so many indie people all together doing cool things. So let's help each other. Thank you.